All right. So I'm going to read a nice little summary here. Maureen is our speaker tonight, Maureen Ruddy Burkhart. And Maureen grew up internationally, returning stateside to study at the San Francisco Art Institute, where she earned a BFA in photography in 1976. Her early darkroom studies shaped her love of editing and print work. She went on to work in a documentary and educational films for US Navy, eventually finding her way back to fine art photography. Her work has won numerous awards, including her favorite, having her work, parentheses, Kibera,
The
A
bear.
Slice of Heaven, shot into space as part of the British Journal of Photography's Portrait of Humanity in Space 2020. So cool. Living in Colorado Rocky Mountain region since 1990 has given Maureen an ever-growing fondness for the natural world, especially birds, and passion for conservation. Her series, Allegories of Melancholy, is a year-long photographic study of birds, many who are in crisis. In creating her gilded prints, she draws inspiration from old handmade prints of extinct birds. An artist living and working in these trying times, she consciously seeks to portray beauty for its own sake and maybe save the world too. All right, Miss Maureen, share your screen
Tea.
and feel free to mute if you have a house full of people.
Oh, yeah, that's asking a lot.
Not
Uh,
you, Maureen.
I have to start at the beginning. Okay, so this is my name and this is my website, and I'm on Threads and Instagram as Mo Photo Artist. I'm going to start with Kibera, A Slice of Heaven. It's a project that I started in 2013, and I call it the series that changed everything. So when I was in Kibera, I was working for a soap, women's empowerment soap project that was actually started by the people in the slum, a family, and they partnered with the University of Denver and for funding. And anyway, the point is that I'm going to show you the work that I did for this project, meeting their needs. And then in return for the work that I did for them, they allowed me as much access as I needed to any of the people or any of the families that we interacted with. And that is how I came up with my final black and white project, which will follow this one. So these women were making soap from scratch. And then they had the sanitation aspect where the University of Denver came and they did some training on hygiene. The statistics were horrifying. It was 1 out of 5 children was dying before age 5 from dysentery because of there's just no running water. There's no fresh water in the whole slum, and there's 1 million people living there. So the children, there was a festival where it was all about hand washing, and the children were lining up and to wash their hands because they don't have running water at home. And then they waited patiently for their turn. And then at the end, when they were finished, they ran around to the back of the line to stand in line again. So you can see these kind of have a more, maybe let's say commercial aspect. There are no maps of the slums, so they had to get satellite data, and they were trying to track the data with the buildings. And these are the soap sellers. This is one of my favorite pictures. So they had to go out and they had to do demonstrations to prove to these women of the slum that this soap was worthy. I hear they were having a demonstration to see which clothes got cleaner. But it turned out that really what they were most impressed by was suds. I love this little kid right here. Beep. And they're showing us their clean hands. Okay, so now we have, this is the black and white series that I did. I say that it was my springboard to understanding myself as an artist. And interestingly, this project has won me my work. I've received the most awards and accolades from this particular portfolio. And this is my favorite picture in the whole that I've ever taken in my whole life. Before I came to Kibera, I had a meeting with some people here, and they were from Kenya. And this gentleman came up to me and he said, there is a misconception that none of the children in Kenya have fathers. So if you wouldn't mind maybe taking some pictures of fathers. And that was the first picture I took. Are you able to see the whole picture, or should I make it? Looks like
Yeah.
these things are in the way. Yeah.
I see the whole picture.
Okay.
Yeah, looks fine to me. Yeah, it's great.
So if you were a tourist or a visitor, you would think that these children are all playing by themselves. But what I learned over time, which was about 3 years of going back and forth, is that every child is being watched like a hawk from somewhere by somebody, always. Shoe washing is a big deal there because the ground is kind of like Hawaiian soil and it makes your shoes red.
Fantastic.
So these are the children of the soap sellers, and we went out into Nairobi one day to see the giraffes and have our faces painted. Now, if you look closely at this picture, you see this little girl here in the middle. I don't know if you can see my arrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, she's got her hand inside her mother's shirt.
Uh-huh.
These are the details that, in my mind, they make my picture. These are the details that I live for. Being a documentary photographer, I love the establishing shot where, it's like environmental portraiture. You see the people in their environment, but then there's always stuff going on. And none of my images are simple, I don't think. Now, I took this one and made it black and white.
This is exceptional. This just blows me away, really.
And this is Helen. I love this because, it's obviously a slum, but she's like, this is her home and she's proud of it.
Maureen, you're shooting all these in film?
No, this is all digital.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this gentleman, he had three girls. And then when I was there, one of the times that I was there, he had finally had a boy. And I was pretty good friends with these people. And then last year in November, his wife sent me a message and she said her husband is very sick and they need help. And my first thought was, oh no, I don't know what I can do to help. This is the situation there is pretty dire. But I thought, they gave so much of their time to me over a period of 3 years, and they never asked me for anything. So I decided I would help them out. And I'm telling you this because this is how I started doing the gilded prints. I wanted to do something, raise money for them without just, regular photographs. I didn't want to sell their pictures. I just wanted to do something really unique. And I've been wanting to learn how to gild my prints. So I thought, okay, there's going to be a learning curve. So I'm going to have a great deal on these prints, and they're going to be imitation gold, and they're only this big. They're 4x4 on 8.5 by 11 vellum. And I sold like $2,000 worth for the family. And they were able to, they lost their store when he became sick and they lost their store, and he's been able to start a new store.
What does he sell?
Oh, it's just, he calls it cereal, but I don't really know what it is. They say a cereal store, but I saw the pictures and it's like a five and dime.
Is he okay?
Um, yeah, he's going to require medication, but yeah, yes, definitely better. Lost a lot of weight. This young girl was going to sing the national anthem, so he was announcing her, and I love the way she looks like she's waiting patiently to sing.
Wow.
This is Rebecca, and they were waiting for a 10,000-liter water tank to be rolled over all the houses and placed there. And she was just standing on that platform like she owned the world. And I started talking to her, and she said her tooth hurt. If you look closely, only people who know me know this story, okay? And she had an abscess. So there was an NGO working nearby, and we went over there and we said, hey, can you take this girl and her father over to the clinic because we think she has an abscess. And so they took her over there, and she finally got the medication she needed. And that's the tank.
Oh, beautiful.
There was a guy there that one of these guys fell in, and the whole crowd was gasping because they thought, oh, this is going to be the end of this guy. And then all of a sudden he pops up outside and he goes like this, and everybody cheers. See, there everybody's cheering. They did it. But see this head sticking out here? Like, I just love this stuff. This hand. We were working in the family compound, and the chickens are running around. And somebody, I think it might have been me, accidentally stepped on it, the chicken. I felt terrible. And I thought it was dead. So Helen picked it up and she put it in this pail. And she said, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And she put her hand on it. And then about a minute later, it jumped up and ran away. She said, I love my chickens. Yeah, looking for chicks. But you see this one over here? And this one here, he doesn't have any hair on his neck. And there's another one here. So I've titled this whole thing tonight, Every Picture Tells a Story. And because every picture does tell a story. And this one, what do you think is going on?
Is that a mirror?
Yes.
Oh.
I think this is my second favorite picture. They had a contest. Every class had to write an essay about hand washing. And this class won the first prize, and that's why they're cheering. And they didn't get anything for the prize. There wasn't like an actual thing. It was just they won.
That little boy is adorable. The yell cheering.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this one over here, and I love the guy with his hand up trying to get a picture. And I love that his hands on the head.
How do they view their photos? Do they have computers?
No, they have phones. And that actually is just an instrument, like a little digital camera. This is very typical when you're walking through the slum. You see everybody's washing clothes and hanging them up, and just like I love how the layers are here and here. These are two soap sellers here. And then this little girl up here, and then this woman washing, and then this woman way in the back who's hanging. That's that. So the reason that I say that this was a life-changing for me was, um, as an artist and a photographer, I think, especially as a woman, we have a hard time finding our unique vision without really imitating anybody. And when I was in Kenya, I was the only photographer. Everybody was far, far away, everybody that I knew. And I was all by my lonesome at night and looking over the pictures. And the first night I decided I had to do black and white. Everything was in color. And then I switched to black and white and I said, wow, it's a totally different feel. And to me, it's like I said, oh, it's like a slice of heaven. And that's why I call it slice of heaven. So anyway, I came back to the States and I started to get interested in the iPhone. This was probably about 12 years ago. And this is the very first iPhone series I did. It's called First Day because it's like the first day of the formation of Earth. Now, I said I had a film background, like movie film, and I was interested in taking a scene, different photos of the same scene at a different time of the day and putting them together. And that was why I got into the iPhone, because the masking and everything was so much easier than Photoshop to me anyway. And this was the very first one I made. And there's like three different, this was like an iPhone 3, I think. And this is three scenes that I put into to make one.
And
Fabulous.
could you tell us how you put them on top of each other in the iPhone?
Oh yeah, well, they don't even have the same apps anymore, but back then they had what was it called? I can't remember now. Juxtaposer. I think it was Juxtaposer. you could they don't have it anymore, but yeah,
Oh,
it would juxtapose images together. First, I would take the 3 favorite images that I liked, and then I would put these effects on them, like just old-fashioned camera, leaky camera effects. And yeah, in the beginning, everybody was going crazy about effects. And then I put them together with a little bit of masking, mask out the parts I didn't want. And I really liked it. And
yeah.
the very first thing I did with it was I applied for an art show. It was a Colorado artist show. And that was the year that the Colorado sent the tree to the White House. So they invited Colorado photographers, and I got this picture in. And John Fielder, who's a very famous Colorado photographer, was one of the jurors, and he chose this. I think it was first place.
Wow,
And
great.
I went to the show opening, and I introduced myself. And he said to me, I don't understand how you can make it work because you're not following the rule of thirds. Your composition is just kooky. And I said, well, it works, right? And then he goes, well, I offer classes if you ever want to take one. I was thinking, why would you say you liked it if you were going to criticize? But anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. And this is another like scene of the same, taking the morning light and then the afternoon storm rolling in. And this one was very, very empowering because as I was masking, I said, oh, can't have 2 sons. And then I said to myself, you know what? This is my art. And if I want 2 sons, I can bloody well have 2 sons. So I did. So it was a morning sun and an evening sun, same day.
Okay. Why didn't you hire somebody? Hire somebody.
And then this was the summer of fires in Colorado. And these are moons, and these are the same moon from the same month. It was a blue moon month. So it was the first moon and the second moon of the same month.
Maureen, are you always using the same amount of photos? 3?
Oh, no. Sometimes just 2, and sometimes like many, many more. I'll take parts from one and put them together, but generally it's like 3. And I'm going to show you an example here. Here's a composite example. So I had this picture, and I really liked how the light was just on some of the branches, like here. So I put it into some effect, I can't remember which one it was, to accentuate the light. And then I looked below me and I took a picture. There was a creek, and I took a picture of the trees reflected in the water. And then I put them together and I came up with this.
What would I do?
Really beautiful.
You can pay for this.
Thanks. I have this one in glass in my bathroom.
Yeah, no. It's gonna do hard. The emotion.
Okay, so now I'm going to do something totally different. This is what I call the wild abandon of Inner Mongolia. I went to a portfolio review in Atlanta in 2009 or 2010. And I had a series of photos about Native American, sacred Native American sites. And I had a Chinese reviewer, and they invited me to Mongolia, all expenses paid, for 2 weeks with 9 other American photographers. It was too good to be true, really. So these are the pictures that I took when I was there. So it was during a photo festival, and this yurt is the world's biggest yurt, and they were going to have a photography exhibit in the yurt in the Gobi Desert. It was 20 below zero, and they had all these heaters set up inside. They hung the show, turned the heaters on, and it started to rain because of condensation. So they turned the heaters off, and we froze the whole rest of the time.
What are those things in the previous picture?
Camels.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, these are Bactrian camels. I was mimicking the mountains with the camelbacks. Yeah, that's just clever, I guess. These are just published in Urban Next, which is like an architectural thing. I don't really know what it is. They draw inspiration from nature and from landscapes.
What are the plumes? What were the smoke?
No, you can hide.
Oh, that's the city.
The
So
city.
this is making an environmental statement that
Back.
this is a city of Ordos. It's right on the edge of the Gobi Desert, and they just burn coal all the time. So it's coal.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so this is my environmental statement. I actually won $1,500 for this picture once.
That's great.
Environmental call.
Wow.
And they're just camels going across the Yellow River.
Hey, come here. Whoa, whoa.
So yeah, these are my pictures here that I was showing. And they hired camel herders to help us with our framing. They didn't know what they were doing. I ended up doing it myself, but I got this picture and it was totally worth it.
Harry.
And this was a Miss Mongolia competition. I love to take pictures of people taking pictures. You'll see later.
What are you up to? Hey. Just a naughty boy.
Yeah, Inner Mongolia is
Harry,
part of
come in.
China, but it's like it's an independent sovereignty. So they have a lot of Tibetan Buddhist temples and stuff there. Yeah, I think that's the end of that. Oh, almost. Okay. So I was telling Stephanie that one of the things I did when I started using the iPhone was I decided I was going to go to Spain and I wasn't going to take my quote real camera with me. I was only going to do iPhone. And I think it was like an iPhone 6. So it wasn't that great, but it changed for me a lot. It made me realize that uh, what I seek is joy. Serious. This is pretty classic street photography. And your assignment for the next time is going to be gesture. I think the iPhone does a really good job with architecture, to tell you the truth. So then I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to take a tour to Cuba. And we're just going to do iPhone. The nice thing about iPhone when you're overseas is that everybody's taking pictures with their phones, so they don't pay any attention to you. But this was the very first thing that happened when we got there. The car broke down. See, I like to take pictures of people taking pictures.
Do you do a lot of processing on the pictures within the iPhone?
Not with these. Oh,
Post-processing, like
these were, sometimes I do, but these were just straight hipstamatic.
uh-huh.
I think I might have opened up the shadows a little bit.
Thanks.
See, there's a gesture. That happens a lot in my animal and people pictures.
That's a great photo.
Thanks.
Wow. Love it.
I got to get to the birds. My favorite thing.
Keep it slow so we can see the pictures.
Sorry. I guess I have seen them quite a few times. I always thought this one would, a little disappointed in the iPhone, especially when with hipstamatic. If the whites get blown out too easily. So this has always bugged me about this picture. My husband and I moved to Mexico in 2018, I think. And we lived there for a year and we traveled all over the place from there. And I just used my phone. I got so many cool pictures and I was so happy with them that I decided to call them the Garden of Delights. This is actually in the US, but anyway, it's a portfolio called The Garden of Delights, and they're my favorite street photos. Callejon del Beso is a very famous place where it's called the Alley of the Kiss, and everybody goes there and takes their picture kissing.
They know you shot them?
Oh yeah, there's like everybody taking pictures here. It's ridiculous.
It's in
It's Guanajuato.
Guanajuato, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we used to live. There's Guanajuato. That's a great town.
Funny.
I took a class with the editor of National Geographic for about a week. And she said something to me about, oh, yes, well, if you're doing thus and such a type of photography, you either have to have nobody ever looking at the camera or people always looking at the camera, but you can't call yourself a documentary photographer if you have people looking at the camera. But anyway, I don't agree with those rules. I like this lady here.
Mhm.
And this one, she knows she knows exactly what I'm doing. And this is from my neighborhood. This is my latest, most favorite street photo.
Colorado?
Yeah. It's right in front of my house. I have a playground in front of, right off my front porch. See what I'm seeing the world vicariously. Quinceañeras. This is a short one, and this one was at an outdoor exhibit in upstate New York. I can't remember the name of the place. It's the venue where they have a lot of concerts. But I wish I could have seen it. They were like 6-foot panels.
Where is this?
Galapagos.
Oh, the one before that also?
This is Arches National Park.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you
There-
ever go there, go in the winter. It's
Yeah.
really cold, but man, is it gorgeous.
I used to go there a lot, but never in winter, but that's a great idea. That's awesome. Didn't recognize it.
Yeah, the weather's way more interesting in the winter.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm assuming these are not your cell phone.
Correct.
Which camera do you use, if I may ask?
This, I've changed cameras a lot. Might have been a Canon. Yeah, I think it was a Canon. I used my Canon died. I used it up. It died. So now I have a Sony.
What
Okay.
I find amazing about that photo is what is creating all those circular bokehs all over the place?
Oh, it's probably my lens
Bokeh.
because I like to look into
Okay.
this. Yeah. Wow, this came out small. I guess I didn't put the right one in there, but this was my first bird photo in Galapagos. And
That's
I
really
thought,
cool.
yeah, I really like the bird. It's called a Galapagos hawk, and they're not afraid of humans, you know. And this is Iceland. Of course, you know that.
Incredible.
What are the little dots? Are those water droplets?
Those are birds.
Oh,
They're probably, I'm not sure what kind of birds, frigate birds or something. Yeah, that one didn't come out. I really do love deserts. And then I went ahead and I took the same picture and put it in black and white as part of that series. I like the black and white better. Okay, now we're getting to the meat of it. So when I first started doing the birds, it was during the pandemic, and I was really into effects, so you'll see the effects similar to the iPhone effects. And this is actually a blended photo.
Oh.
And these are definitely blended because I was seeing swallows and I was obsessed with taking a picture of a swallow. They are so fast. They're ridiculously fast. And I didn't know how to take pictures of birds. So I was on YouTube all the time and I was doing experiments and everything. And finally, after months of shooting these swallows, I got a couple that I liked and I decided to put them together and make one scene that sort of represented my love of the swallows that summer.
It's great.
That's a cool shot. Hmm.
And then I kind of have a thing for magpies. And this one day, I purposely shoot when there's a moon. I go out, I always shoot when there's a moon to try to get moon in my shot. And there really aren't that many days a year then you can do that because the sun has to be coming up right about the same time. And the moon was still in the sky, you know. So I saw the moon. I said, I'm going to get the moon. And then I saw the magpie and I walked up to him and I started talking to him. And I do this a lot with animals. I start talking to them and they respond.
Hmm.
So anyway, he posed.
Nice. Wow. That's amazing.
Is it looks like a 19th century painting.
Yeah, I was kind of going for that older feel because of that. And I don't know if you remember when Stephanie was talking about in the beginning, I had seen this print of I think it was in England, in a library, prints of extinct birds. And I thought, oh my God, I hope we don't lose all our birds. So it's kind of like maybe mimicking a little bit those old prints.
Can you scoot over just a little?
Yeah. Did you do that in Photoshop? If I may ask.
No, I hate to tell you this, but I did take it into my iPhone.
Wow.
And I took the background from the iPhone and then I blended it together and then I put it into Lightroom
Oh, like, okay.
and I had to increase the uh, DPI and stuff like that, but
Right.
without, it's okay if the background gets a little pixelated, but I want my birds to get pixelated.
Hmm.
What do you use to combine them if you're from the iPhone and to take it to Lightroom?
I was using my iPhone and then
But is it an app that where you can combine images?
yes. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
It's in here somewhere. There's a bunch of apps that you can do that with. Image Blender, I think it's called.
Image
And
Blender.
there's distressed effects. But if you have an iPad, which I don't, but if you did, they have very sophisticated apps on an iPad where you can do this and you don't
Yeah, I
need
just got an iPad. I just recently got the latest one, and it's, like there's so much possibility here, and I haven't learned how to use it yet. So I'm very excited about it,
take
and
a
you're
class. Yeah,
inspiring.
take a
Yeah,
class.
yeah. So, thank you.
So yeah, this one has a gesture. See, the pelican he's just lifting his wings. I rarely just do a bird just, sitting there. So here I'm going to do a composite sample. I had this picture of a heron. It's like our local. He hangs out at our local pond. He's been there for years. And the sun was just coming up, and he was sort of had his head up in a some kind of a reverent motion there. And then the same guy, but at a different time, was screeching. So I decided to put them together to create a new scene. And then I made this print and something about it bothered me. So then I redid it. And I like this one better. I don't know if you saw that, but it's kind of like there were two subjects going on here. It was too hard to look at. So here you just have like, this is the main subject and this is maybe his subconscious or something. I just think visually it works better. But I do this, this is how I have fun, and I create scenes. And I like to create scenes that are believable because I like that kind of mystery, I guess. So yeah, I was in a show last year where I had to do the gilded pieces. So I decided to photograph these weeds that I had been keeping since the pandemic, and I just loved them, and I just didn't know what I was going to do with them. So it turns out they look pretty good with this 24 karat gold.
That's fabulous. Wow.
So that's a whole technique to get that gilded stuff, huh? Is that complicated?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
Okay.
But it's not too complicated.
Is it expensive?
No,
it
no,
gold?
not really. So what I do is I experiment with imitation gold, which is super, super cheap. It's like 4 cents a sheet or something. Then I decide how I like it. Then when I'm sure that I want to do the gold, because sometimes I do silver, or gesso, which is white. When I'm sure what I want, then I use the real gold. And that's about this piece, it's probably about $30 worth of gold.
Wow.
How do you apply it to the print? You put it on the print?
Um, I have at the very end of this thing, I have a picture, but so I print on vellum paper, which is semi-opaque. Then you have to treat the vellum
Uh,
so with silicone because if you get it wet, it wrinkles. So then I use a spray adhesive and then I apply the gold onto the back.
that sounds complicated.
Really?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
And this is a Japanese lantern, I think. No, Chinese lantern it's called.
Is this a technique that you just made up on your own, or is this like a
No, it's kind of it's a thing now.
see?
I didn't want to get back into darkroom work because it's just messy and I have a problem with chemicals. So I thought I really wanted to do a quote alternative photography because everybody in the world is doing digital. I want to do something different and unique. So I took a class, online class on how to do the gilding.
Oh, okay.
And it was really good class, but he used liquid glue and it wrinkled the paper. So then I found out about the spray adhesive, and I've actually learned a lot, and I think I do a pretty good job now. So this is my final thing. I call it the Allegories of Melancholy. I got that title because my husband was doing a Google search on me and he found this article written about my work in Spanish. I didn't even know about the article. And the Spanish writer had written that it it reminded him of allegories of melancholy, and I said, I'll take it. So yeah, this past summer, I found a place where the hummingbirds live and nobody knows about them. I was like a giddy little child every single day. Yeah, and these are gilded. Oh, and this is a close-up so you can see. I like to have them with their beaks open.
Is that with the Sony, or
Yeah, this is the Sony. Yeah,
can I ask what lens you use to do the birding?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I think it's a 100 to 400.
Yeah, okay, got that. Thank you.
I'm, I'm really bad with I
Oh,
have a Fuji, I have a Sony,
I,
Sigma, all in one on one table here.
okay, okay.
There's the moon. Well, I drove 2 hours to this place before the sun came up because I was hoping that I would be able to get the birds with the moon. And sure
Oh,
enough,
Wow.
yeah, I needed the 400 for that for sure. And there's a close up. So you can see I didn't do a very good job with this gilding. You see how it has those wrinkles there?
Mm.
The thing is, if you use the imitation, it's cheap, but it doesn't blend very well. And if you use real gold or real silver, it is spectacular. You can just blend it with your fingers and it's just smooth as silk. You're my beloved swallows again. I'm pretty sure this is two images together. And this guy, I just love him. I think because his eyes match the greenery. And so if your sky is blue and you're making gold leaf, then it's going to turn turquoise. And this is white gesso. This was the very first summer I was shooting birds. I did these swallows. And I did put it in my iPhone and I had to put all these effects in it. And then later I decided to gild it. This has been with me for a couple years now. It's been through many iterations.
do you sell these?
Did I use what?
Do you sell them, or they're more for your portfolio, or?
Do I sell them? Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yes. I have some big prints of this that aren't gilded, and they were in a show, the Coors show in Denver, last year or the year before.
really gorgeous, beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
This has sort of wintry effects, and I'm pretty sure I gilded it with silver.
Yeah.
But I'm still working on this one. And this one is one of my favorite heron photographs. It's something about the way the neck is reaching up. It just makes me very emotional.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure this is also gesso. So you can do the same thing. You print on vellum, and then you don't have to put the adhesive. You just put the gesso on the back, And it kind of looks like a regular print, but it pops. I have this one in my living room. It's every time I walk by, I go, oh. I made the sky was uniform, but I decided in Lightroom. Are any of you guys familiar with Lightroom?
Yes.
Yes.
You can select the sky, right? And then you can intersect the sky selection with a gradient. So you can make these colors, right? It adds a little bit of depth, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it looks like a sunrise. And
Mhm.
then when you gild it, it looks better.
It looks like a Chinese print on silk.
Yeah.
How big is this, the one you have?
This is 5x7.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of small. So my next thing I want to do is I want to find vellum, printable vellum. That's the problem. You have to get printable vellum. And anything bigger than 8.5 by 11, you have to get it in a roll.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
but you
do
can get
that.
it in 8.5 by 11, and then you just like paint the vellum from the back side of the vellum with the gesso. Is that what you're saying?
So this paper is 8.5 by 11, and
Uh-huh.
the print size is just 5x7 because it's kind of hard if you make them bigger. The paper kind of waves.
Ah,
So I'm actually trying to figure out a way to put paper together to like piece together one photograph, cut it into 8 pieces. I don't know. I'm just
oh, yeah.
thinking out
Yeah.
loud now.
I, it's just gorgeous.
And here's a close-up.
Hmm.
Oh.
Do you print them at home on a printer or?
Yeah, I have a printer. I print them here, but
Uh-huh.
I don't do like if I have to mount something onto something, then I have a printer that does that in Denver.
Hmm. Do you sell them as greeting cards?
No, no, I haven't done any of that stuff. I was
'Cause
thinking about it,
They,
but
they
it's
will
just,
go really well if you got them printed, I'm sure. I would buy it.
yeah, years ago I did greeting cards, but it's like you don't make much money at it.
Yeah, I know. I used to do
Um,
it too.
but anyway, just as an aside here, these herons, their rookery has been sold to a major developer and they're going to be torn down.
Oh my God. Oh no.
This is part of the reason why I'm really getting into this series.
Oh,
Two of the rookeries that you have seen in this portfolio are going to disappear.
oh wow.
One of
That's
them is in northern
heartbreaking.
Wyoming and the other one is in northern Colorado. So that's that's my thing.
Wow.
And this guy just brings me joy. He just makes me so happy.
Yeah.
He's just looking for mosquitoes. And there's a little close up.
Mm.
Yeah, at first I was really wanting to get the still capture super fast shutter speed so I could freeze action. And then after experimenting, I realized that when the wings are blurred, it's more emotive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is my last one. He's just sitting there and watching the sun come up and singing a song. I
So
wish,
this is gold. And again, this one.
yes, yes, gold leaf. And there's a close up. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, I just did this the other day. I decided to take this, I call this Giants, and gild it, right? So it was a black and white. So I did it in silver and it looked awful. It was super flat and uninteresting. So then I said, well, heck, I'll try it with gold. And all of a sudden it just looked great. So it's like, okay, now I know that I can take the black and white landscapes, print them and gild them with gold, and they'll look like this.
Hmm.
So yeah, this is the back. So this is the imitation gold because it's kind of sloppy. If it were real gold, it would be smooth.
Interesting.
And
Many years ago, my mother used to do paintings with gold and with gesso. So with she incorporated it with oil paintings. So this
That's
is
so
fascinating.
cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's the end of that.
cool. Very nice.
Say that I'm always seeking to evolve as a photographer because I feel like, everybody's a photographer and everybody's doing digital and everybody's doing iPhone now and everybody's doing this. It's like I gotta keep up with it. When I first started doing digital, my first digital camera was a Nikon D100 and it was 6 megapixels. And we were in Jerusalem. I did stock photography for many, many years. And I wanted to get a picture of the Dome of the Rock. I didn't have it in here, but this was back when you could go up there and peacefully see the Dome of the Rock. And I got a picture. The lighting was perfect, and there was a family in the picture. And I had it on my stock site, and I got a phone call from the what's it called? Asia Society Museum in New York City. And they wanted to use it in one of their exhibitions. And I was like, oh my God, it's only like 2 megapixels and megabytes, and they want it to be this big.
Okay.
And I was like, so I panicked and I didn't really know much about Photoshop, but I learned really quickly. And it was super grainy and it had noise factors in it, and I just smoothed everything over and made it just this beautiful file and sent it in, and then we went to New York to see it. But yeah, that was my D100. And then some guy goes online, he says to me, there's no way that was a 6 megapixels. I don't believe it. I was like, okay, whatever.
Mm,
Amazing.
no, I'm not.
Thank you, Maureen.
Yeah, so I would say if you want to do new stuff, just, go for it and take classes or whatever.
Mhm.
Come
Yeah,
to
that's-
Colorado and I'll show you how to do this and I won't even charge you.
That would be really fun if you did some kind of a
Okay, I'm there. Where are you in Colorado?
Yeah.
do a
I'm
demo.
gonna be near Boulder.
That's great. Okay, I've got family near there, so
Really cool.
yeah, yeah.
I'll be happy to show you.
My dad, yeah, yeah. Be great.
While you're still with us, do you want to tell us about our photo challenge? I'm gonna open up the little flyer you and I made the other day, and I'm gonna steal the screen here.
Oh, okay, so what do you want me to do?
Presenters. Oh, I've never done this. Allow multiple. Let's see how that works. Oh, okay. So this is our October photo challenge. Do you want to tell us about it, Maureen?
Oh, the word is gesture.
It's not up there.
It's not up there.
I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
But should I do the?
Why don't you stop share for 1 sec? And then
Oh yeah, I would love to stop share.
I saw it. Yeah.
can you
Yeah, I see
now?
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the photo challenge that Maureen came up with.
Photograph an animal or person making a gesture.
So I was
Sounds great.
I was confused by it. So will you talk about the gesture I'm seeing, I guess, is the bird on the left, right? He's saying something.
Well, actually, they're both gesturing because the one on the left it's obvious he's got a couple things going on. He's probably got like 3 different gestures. He's got his his wings, his tail feathers, and his mouth. And then the other bird is actually doing two gestures. He's crouched with his head leaning up and his mouth is open ever so slightly.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a hard one. I'm going to try.
Oh no, it's not going to be hard at all. You're going to be amazed at how easy it's going to be.
Yeah.
You're going to see so much gesture everywhere. As soon as you start looking for it, you'll see it.
You see subtle. You're so attuned.
Oh, but just in your portraits, Stephanie, there's lots of gesture. Like in your book, you got all kinds of stuff. But does this need to be a new photo? Do we have to go out and shoot this now, or can we just pull it out of the files?
Both.
But
Okay.
find gesture among your shots and go get some new ones,
you know,
right?
both have
Okay.
value, because if you're looking for gesture and your own photos that you've already taken, you may not have noticed them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to notice them and you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like what happened to me was I started seeing gestures in my photos and I was like, oh, I must really like that.
Mhm.
I will say, when I started the club and we started the photo challenge, my goal in my mind was for the photo challenge was to help us get out and start shooting. So lots of people do show past work, which I think is awesome, but I think it's really, I would use these photo challenges to try to
Motivate.
get inspired to go out and shoot more if you can. Oh, we just lost some.
Sound like a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Well, that was a fabulous show. You do such a wide variety of things like photojournalism and then the birds. It just, and your techniques,
You're
special
so-
techniques.
You were
I have a
so-
question.
Jack of all trade. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know where you stayed, what your accommodations were when you were filming the slum.
Oh, well, I stayed in Nairobi. So the slum it's only separated from Nairobi by a wall. It's really an extension of Nairobi. But in Nairobi, and this is kind of interesting, I stayed at a guest house, which is very common for especially like NGOs and stuff, for people to stay in a guest house. And then the project that I was working with, they supplied me with my transportation and my security. So, and I was going to put a picture of my security guard, but I forgot. Yeah, and so the first day we went into the slum, the guy that one of the guys running the project is from the slum. But you have to pay a bribe if you're going to take pictures in the slum. So they had a meeting of the elders, and one of the elders was his father. And they're like, well, you can't expect us to pay for the pictures. And his father says, well, we have to pay something because that's the way we do it. We pay bribes. And so they decided that $20 would be sufficient for the whole summer.
Oh,
Oh God. But so I went home and I published a book, Kabira, A Slice of Heaven. And then the next time I went back, I brought the book with me. And I gave a copy to the people who ran the guest house. And they're natives of Nairobi. And they run tours and they run a guest house. And they've lived there their whole lives. And they
never.
looked at the book and they said, well, the people in the slum, they look like they're having a good time. Like they couldn't understand. It just was so interesting that the own people there had a prejudice about the people from the slum. It turns out they were all just like them. Love their children, they work hard, I don't know. It was just really interesting. I learned a lot.
Can I ask you a question? You got my attention when you were talking about, while you were in Kibera, that the kids that were out playing, they had a lot of eyes on them. There must be a story there about who watches, like one person. How did what, you know, can you?
Like the one picture where the women were, you look down and they were all washing and
No,
hanging
no, no. All the
up.
kids are just out playing, and you said they're all
Right.
alone, but there's eyes on every single
So
child.
the women that
Yeah.
were hanging the clothes and washing the clothes are the ones that are, they got one eye on the wash and the other eye they're watching the kids.
Okay.
And that was something that I noticed over time. It didn't happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous at first. I'm like, oh, those kids, you know.
Mhm.
But I mean, I've traveled around the world a lot, and I trust people that they know what the hell they're doing. So I noticed over time I was aware of people that were watching, and one of the women in the one of the soap sellers, she had a new baby.
Mm-hmm.
He was like 4 months old, and he was sleeping, and she came out, and she was going to be coming with the soap sellers. And I said, well, what about Juvenile? Her baby's name was Juvenile. I said, what about Juvenile? And she laughed and she says, oh, don't worry about it. When he cries, someone will hear him. I mean, he's 10 now, so he survived.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just really interesting.
I have a friend who runs an art program in Kibera. Her name is Gloria Simino. She's from San Rafael, and the name of her organization is Harambe Arts. And she's been there probably for about 12 or 15 years doing expressive arts with all the kids. And they just did a small documentary. Anyway, it's fascinating that how things work there, and people do look out for each other, but also the incredible hardship the poverty brings on. So yeah, your pictures are beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I asked the people, why do you, we had a lot of conversations about it, and some of them could afford to live in Nairobi, but they didn't want to because they could afford more things for their family if they just stayed in the slum. It was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has to do what they have to do. And then sitting here talking, and the guy that ran that program was just texting me, and I haven't heard from him in 10 years.
Wow, amazing. Housing is a problem everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Well-
Stephanie, it's just a quick question. I know it's Steve Dissenhoff does a lot of stuff in Kenya as well. Is he going to be presenting on that as well next month?
I can request that, or why don't you email him and suggest it?
I just was curious if he brought that up too. Okay.
We talked a bit, and when he had mentioned the catch of the day, I thought that this particular group of people would really enjoy that. But if you have a request, I highly recommend you suggest it to him, because I know Maureen was very flexible. So I mean,
yeah, it's nice to see all the different aspects of Maureen's work and kind of the progression and the different kinds of media that she's incorporated. So that's been great. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess we maybe do too many different things, but what the heck?
I like the variety, and I'm really into birds too, so it all resonates.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a wetland that has a resident great blue heron right behind my home, and so I'm constantly taking pictures of them. And but how many like of the same pose can you get? And now I'm thinking, I should go back and try and blend. How do I do that? Like now I'm getting all these ideas. It's really
now you can take classes online with the iPad, and I have a friend, she teaches through the Santa Fe photographic workshops. She teaches iPhone compositing. That's all she teaches.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, I'm just
Karen
excited
Devine.
to learn.
Karen Devine.
What is it?
Karen
Divine?
Devine, like
Karen.
Devine.
There's an app called Image Blender.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Image
there
Blender.
are better apps now. Image Blender is kind of like, but it's good for beginning. Yeah. In fact, most of mine were done with Image Blender.
Okay.
But all right.
I hope you'll come up to our Facebook page and peek at some of the images that people are sharing. Maureen.
Oh, yeah. Like right now?
No, not right now, but
Okay.
when, if you feel, I know you're moving, but if you feel like it,
Yeah, I would love to do that.
it might be fun for you to see how you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, as we post them over the next few weeks, it would be great to get feedback from you on on our images. Yeah, in the next few weeks. Yeah.
That sounds
So
good.
I would like to thank you for your presentation. I found it really inspiring.
Oh, that's really great.
All those different things you do. That's why I asked so many questions.
You didn't ask too many.
No, I know. I was careful, but it's really beautiful work.
Thank you so
very,
much. I
very
really
impressed.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm very rarely impressed, but I am. Beautiful.
Everybody can be beautiful too. Just be unique and trust your own vision.
Yeah, true.
I like that you break rules too.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Right, like that rule of thirds thing. I couldn't believe that. Oh,
I
wow.
used to teach photo camp to teenagers, and I was always trying to teach them rules, and they'd break them, and they'd come up with these wild, happy accidents. And
Well, it's always good to know the rules. You
So
can't
you
really
can break
know
them.
and then you can break them. I'm totally believing that.
well, thank you. I'm going to have your video up probably by tomorrow, end of day.
All right.
And
Thank you
I'll-
so much,
Great.
everybody. Appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you
Great
next
meeting
month.
you all.
Next month, don't forget, mark your calendar. We'll be back to 7 o'clock, November 21.
Okay.
Thank
Bye
you.
all.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank
Great
you.
night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.